Hi, everyone. My name is Blanche Garcia. Welcome to the Conscious Home podcast. We are here with Maria from the I Miss Me podcast. And I'm actually really excited because she is a podcaster who has gained popularity for her honest discussions about mental health in a world where social media usually showcases idolized lifestyles. Maria stands out by promoting the power of vulnerability and authenticity. She courageously shares her own experiences with pain, growth, and healing.
That's such a beautiful introduction. So excited to be here. Always love to hop on other people's podcasts to share my message. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, I always feel like it's shared connection and shared energy, and you never know where it's going to go. So what inspired you to start your podcast and delve into the topics of self-healing, self-love, and self-confidence?
You know, a lot of people that have podcasts have the idea to have a podcast and have the intention of having that project. For me, it was a little different. I went through a breakup and I didn't really want to go to therapy, and I was having a really hard time getting over the pain and the breakup. So I started recording myself on my phone and just talking with myself, ranting and crying to my phone because I didn't really, I've never been someone to open up my emotions with other people, just my mom, my family. And at the time, I didn't really feel comfortable talking with anyone. So I just started talking to my phone. And then eventually, time heals and I started feeling better. So I just didn't really feel the need to record myself on my phone anymore. And I started listening to myself to the first audios that I was recording. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so much better. Maybe I can turn this into a project. And that's how the idea of actually starting a podcast was born.
So kind of through your own self-healing, you realize that maybe other people could benefit.
Yeah, I feel like that experience as a whole, not just the audios, but the breakup in general, made me very self-aware. And when you start having conversations with yourself and really get vulnerable of these are the things that I have to work on and this is the reason why it's hurting so much, you mature a lot and you become very self-aware. And so truly, I feel like the only way to heal is to be self-aware. And that's what I want to lead people to be.
Exactly. Introspection is the only way to growth and to ask the hard questions. And unfortunately, the way you do that is through certain circumstances and things that happen to you that aren't the most comfortable, but they force you to grow. Exactly. And how has spirituality played a role in your life, particularly in your journey towards authenticity and self-love?
I started my spiritual journey very young. When I was 13, I read The Law of Attraction, the book by Rhonda, and it completely changed my life. And I started kind of doing the exercises for people that have read The Law of Attraction. Know that it is a book with a 30 or 28 day challenges applying gratitude into your life. And I started doing that very young and I started seeing how much it was working. And that is something that never left my life. Gratitude for me is the most important thing to have. But then I think that a lot of people use spirituality or God or whatever they believe in as a cushion or as a resource to reach out to when things are going bad. And I've been guilty of that, of just reaching out to God when things are going bad, and then when things are doing very good, maybe not reach out as much. And then when things are really bad, be like, here I am again. And so for me, I think going through my breakup, but at the time I was just going through a lot. It was a combination of a lot of things. It was a very big wake-up call of don't just reach out to God or the universe when things are going bad. You have to reach out always. You have to build a relationship or work on the relationship that you have with the universe, with God, all the time. It's not just when things are bad. And so I was 17 then and I went to therapy, and it was kind of a therapy. It was kind of like a therapy camp that I went to when I was going through my breakup, and I didn't know it was Christian until I got there. I've never been someone who's religious. I've always been super spiritual, but some beliefs really resonated with me. And so then I just kind of started building my own definition, my own relationship of what God means to me. And I keep it very private. It's not something that I talk about on my podcast. I don't think it's something that I will ever talk about on my podcast, like my relationship with God. But spirituality does play a very big role in my life and with my family, with my friends. And it's something that is always there and it's always present. And I do feel like it guides me to do everything that I do.
I agree. I think that everybody has to find their way and at least find a connection to something, whatever they want to call it. And you have to keep that relationship going daily. And it's either you work with it and nurture it or you kind of starve it.
Yeah, for sure. And just like any relationship, if you think about how many things a romantic relationship requires, is it's time, it's energy, it's effort, and it's love, and it's a lot of communication. I feel like the same has to be with God again. again, whatever you believe in, whatever you call it, I call it God, it requires the same love, communication, work, energy, effort. And some people don't see it like that. And I do believe that it requires work. And I feel like that is why so many good things happen to me, because I do make sure that I put effort and the time to work on that relationship that I have with my spirituality.
I agree with that. So what are some practical steps individuals can take to initiate their own journey of self-healing and self-love?
A lot of self-awareness would be my main one. It sounds super cliche, super repetitive, but feeling in order to heal is extremely important, because I do really believe that the only way out is through. Only by feeling your emotions, you're going to be able to understand your emotions, know why they're there, and as a consequence of knowing why they're there, also letting them go. And I feel like that is the main reason why it's so important to feel them, because only by feeling them, you understand them, and once you understand them, it's easier to let them go. And I feel like a lot of times we seek closure from people, but in reality, what we should seek closure from is our feelings and the way that we're feeling that way. And we waste so much time seeking closure from another person, where in reality, we should be seeking closure from our emotions and our feelings. And I don't think that we do that enough. So I think that once you start trying to understand why you're feeling what you're feeling, that's the only way that you're going to feel better. And that's how you start healing.
I agree. I think a lot of people miss the step of the relationship to self, because you can't have any other relationships that are of value if you don't understand yourself and you don't have that relationship with self. And the self-awareness is one of them, but the why you do things, the trigger, because a lot of times people are reacting, but they don't understand what the starter point was, right?
Something that it's super important to understand, because I love talking about psychology on my podcast, and the reason why, because for me, someone telling me to feel to heal, it sounds very cliche and it's pretty hard for me to understand the why. So I always like to say the why behind things. And the reason why it's so important to have a good relationship with yourself is because our brain agrees with us. It doesn't argue against us, it agrees with us. So whatever you tell your brain to be true, it will reflect to you on your life. So if you're constantly telling yourself that you're not worthy, that you deserve all of the pain that you're feeling, that you're hurt, that you're heartbroken, it will continue to reflect those things in your life, because it's agreeing with you. It's not arguing against you. So if you're constantly telling yourself that you're heartbroken, your brain will continue to put you in situations that make you even more heartbroken. So having a good relationship with yourself means having good communication and positive communication with yourself, so that the universe or your brain can reflect good things to you.
When you start telling yourself certain stories, your body starts reacting to that information, good or bad. So that's how people create sickness in their body sometimes, because they're creating a negative energy that keeps growing, and it goes outward. So when you create positive within your thought process and in your body, then it goes out in your energetic field. And then also it attracts other things that are of light vibration. In your opinion, what are some common obstacles people face when trying to cultivate self-love, and how can they overcome it?
I think they base their relationship with themselves with situations that they've gone through. Like if something doesn't work out with someone, it's probably because of me. If a job doesn't work out, it's probably because of me. If, I don't know, my parents were hard on me when I was little, it's probably because of me. And so we constantly blame ourselves for the things that we went through, when in reality, if something doesn't work out, it's because there's something better out there. If something doesn't work out, it's because we deserve better. But that is a belief that has to start within. Nobody can really convince you that everything is happening for you and not to you. Nobody can convince you that there is something better for you out there. Like, you have to believe that yourself. And I feel like the reason why we struggle so much to have a good relationship with ourselves is because we struggle to believe that there is something better out there for us. And I think that it is because it requires trusting, and there is no proof to trust, you know what I mean? And we are very logical beings. Like, our brain is constantly trying to solve problems, and when there's a problem we don't have a solution to, it's really hard to believe that there is actually a solution. And that is what trusting means, having to believe that there's a solution even if we don't know how it's going to happen. And so I feel like that's why we struggle so much to love ourselves. But if you don't love yourself, then you're never going to receive all of the things that you want, you know what I mean?
I agree with that. And I also think that things have divine timing too. And so sometimes we're very limited. We always put the end result, like the options of only what we are limited to see. So we'll say there's only 3 options here. There's only 3 outcomes. And so all those 3 may depress us, not realizing that there are 6 other that we never thought about. about. And so we have to allow that opening for things that we have no idea about, right?
For sure. And I think that we're really hard on ourselves when things don't work out instead of celebrating them. And I think that once you start celebrating them, you start vibrating in a whole nother frequency that starts attracting even more things to celebrate. Like, I always talk about relationships because it's like the main topic that we talk about on my podcast. And a lot of people that are going through breakups or got ghosted or are going through situationships listen to me because they're kind of looking for that safe space after heartbreak. We suffer so much when something doesn't work out, and it's always like, this person ghosted me because I'm not worth it. This person ghosted me because I'm going through pain. And I made this video a couple of days ago. If someone ghosted you, congratulations. Start celebrating things not working out, because that just means that you're just one step closer to finding what is actually going to work out. And again, once you start celebrating the things that are happening to you, regardless if they're good or bad, you completely change your frequency, and then you're going to start attracting things to actually have love and celebration for.
Well, it's interesting. I was having this conversation as well with somebody who got ghosted, and I said to her, what kind of fears does that bring up in you? Did you really want a relationship, or was the fear bigger than the want? And sometimes we bring into our energy field the lessons that we need to learn at that moment, the things that show us a mirror for introspection. So it has multifacets, that it's not meant for you at that moment. Maybe something better is out there. They weren't the right thing for you. But also, why are you attracting that vibration particularly? What is it that you can learn from that so you can put it to bed, so you can go to the next step?
And I think that we question people a lot instead of questioning ourselves as to why are we allowing it? Why are they ghosting me? Why are they being mean to me? Why are they being toxic? The real question is, why are you allowing it? Everything that we go through is always going to take us back to our self-worth and a lesson to work on yourself and a lesson to be better. It's not a matter of, why is this person ghosting me? The real question is, what frequency are you vibrating on that is attracting those type of relationships?
Oh, 100%. I remember when I went through a completely tragic relationship in my early 30s, and it was horrible. It was like earth shattering. And I ended up going to Omega to a retreat there. It's in Rhinebeck, New York. And I went to like a whole week retreat. I was like, this is going to help me, you know? And it actually did. And it was two practitioners. They were married hosting it, David and Gail Gershon, I believe. And so we're in this group thing and we're talking about what we want out of our life and our limitations. And I remember sitting there going, why can't I get the love that I keep giving out? And he said to me, the question is, why are you not giving that love to yourself? And at the time I was like, what is he talking about? Like, of course I love myself. But the truth is that if I loved myself, I wouldn't accept that behavior. It's very interesting, the layers. So could you share some empowering practices or affirmations that have personally helped you on your journey towards self-love and confidence?
I think it all goes back to gratitude. I've never been a journaling girl, affirmations girl. I journal every single morning. It's just 10 reasons why I'm grateful for, and I've been doing that for the past, I want to say 6 years. Every single morning changes your life, and everybody should try it out. But I've never been someone that meditates every single day, affirmations every single day. I just always recommend and almost turn it into like a non-negotiable is gratitude. Like, start being grateful for every single thing, regardless if it's hard and regardless if you're not actually grateful for it, because it is just training your brain to eventually feel grateful for everything that works out and for everything that doesn't, because gratitude is the highest frequency that you can be vibrating on and the only frequency that you're going to be able to attract everything that you want. So always be grateful, however it looks for you. Sometimes it's not even about the word thank you, but it is about the feeling of feeling grateful for the people that you have around you, feeling grateful for the things, feeling grateful for the opportunities, feeling grateful for your job, your food, your family, your everything. And we focus so much on what we don't have. This person left. I don't have love. I don't have relationships. I don't have friends. And you forget about everything that you do have. And sometimes that's the blockage that's between who you are and what you want, is focusing on what you don't have instead of what you do and feeling grateful and appreciating what you do.
And I will say this, gratitude to me is kind of a little bit like meditation. When I started meditating, I got a lot of intrusive thoughts and you get sidebarred with them. Like, you're just like, oh my God, your mind goes on a tangent. And then the more and more that you work on it, you realize that those thoughts aren't going to not happen. They're going to come in, but you notice them, see them, and then just let them go. And it's the same thing with gratitude. You're not always going to feel 100%. You're not always going to feel like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's okay to acknowledge the realities in your life, but not sink and soak in them. And once you acknowledge them and go, hey, this makes me feel a certain way, and let it work through your body, then go, yeah, but this is what I'm learning from this. This is the gratitude I get from this. This is the silver lining, right? Find the silver lining. I remember Gabby Bernstein, she has this thing. I remember during 2020 COVID lockdown, I went through my own tipping point with having my daughter and things like that. And I remember her saying, just choose a better thought than the one you had. That was life-changing for me at that moment because it was easy. It was an easy jump. Sometimes it's hard to be grateful for the lessons you're in, but it's very easy in the moment to say, just pick a better thought. So where do you see yourself wanting to go? Like, where do you see in the next couple of years? What is your vision?
I would love to know, but I think that I've been practicing presence so much that for me, it's more about how I would like to feel regardless of where I am. I read The Power of Now and
one of my favorites.
I read it every 3 months whenever I feel like I'm kind of losing it. But for me, it's like, I don't even know where I'm going to be tomorrow, but I know how I want to feel tomorrow. And I think that I know how I don't want to feel because I felt it before. I do know that right now I have a lot of peace that I want to keep regardless of where I am tomorrow, next week, in a few months, or in a few years. I would love to grow my podcast as much as I can and share my message as much as I can, but I also know that if TikTok were to be banned tomorrow and I were to lose all of my social media tomorrow, I wouldn't lose the peace that I have right now because I don't depend on it. And so for me, it has been more a practice of detaching from everything that I feel like I'm depending on so that if in a few years it doesn't work out, I'm still going to be okay. I could say that in a few years, I want to be married. I want my podcast to be the #1 in the whole world, but if it doesn't happen, I'm still gonna be okay. We attach so much on the result and we're just so attached on how it has to happen and when it has to happen that if it doesn't happen the way that we want it to happen, we're just not gonna be okay. And I've been practicing intention without attachment a lot, where I know where I want my podcast to be, but I also know that it's gonna happen when it's meant to happen and when I am going to be ready to appreciate it, which has been a huge one for me. Of things happen when you're ready to receive them. And if they're not happening right now, you're probably not ready for them.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. I remember I used to co-host a TV show and I wanted to be in a certain place, a certain show, do a certain thing, but I was doing something that sucked the energy out of me. And I remember being in my 20s, I was like, I just have to keep going, hustle on the way there and be miserable on the way there. And one day I woke up and I was like, I don't want to be miserable on the way to something. I want to be embodying of my happiness in that moment. And when I did that, I released the outcome. And it's true, you go in a direction, but you have to release the outcome because you don't know where it's going to lead, but you do know how to protect your happiness within those moments as much as possible.
The problem with depending your happiness on the result is that you really don't know when you're going to be happy because you really don't know when the result is actually going to happen. And so sometimes we're okay with being miserable on the way because we're like, okay, once I get there, I'm going to be happy. But you really don't know when you're going to get there or how you're going to get there. And you can be miserable for a few days or a few months or even a few years. Once you decide to be happy now, you really don't care about the end result because at the end of the day, you're going to feel the same.
And you don't know how long that we're having this life ride. You know, for me, I decided to incarnate here to have this life. So why would I choose to be unhappy and miserable on my way to somewhere? I'm human, so I'm going to have the experience I have. And some days are going to be rougher than others, but decide that this is when you get to be happy. This is when you feel fulfilled. I mean, this was great. Is there anything else that you want to add to this that you would like them to know?
I don't know. When I close my episodes, I always just ask people, what does healing mean to them? Because I'm always super interested in knowing what healing means to other people. So I guess if I were to share my answer, I would just say that sometimes we focus so hard to heal that we forget to experience. And for me, what I've learned about healing is that when you stop healing, you actually start healing. When you stop being so hard on yourself on feeling 100% better and you actually start experiencing and going out and being with your friends and being okay with being sad, but then at the same time experiencing everything that life has to offer, you actually start feeling better. So people that listen to your podcast, people that listen to my podcast, and people that listen to all of these self-growth podcasts are ultimately looking to heal. And if I were to share a piece of advice or a message, is just stop trying so hard to heal, because once you stop trying, you actually start healing.
100%. Once you stop being the seeker, then you're much more of the activator, the attraction to what you want, because you're not seeking anything, you're just being. Well, it was great having you on. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see where your journey takes you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Conscious Home podcast, and we'll see you next time.